Hi girls, we're doing the Princess Diaries again today. If you want to know the purpose behind me reviewing this series, it actually started out as somebody saying to me that they had aged terribly and that Michael Moscovitz was a creep. And I was obviously personally offended by this because obviously I think that Michael Moscovitz is contender for best boy in the universe. And these books were really special to me growing up, and so I didn't like the fact that somebody had those opinions of them. As a critical thinker myself, okay, I wanted to go back. I wanted to look at these books through an adult lens, through a modern day lens, and see if maybe some of the messages that came across were not the healthiest in modern times. And also, maybe perhaps look at Michael as well through a critical lens and see if maybe he wasn't so perfect as I originally thought him to be. While doing that, obviously, I'm going to make a meal about all the things that I used to enjoy about the series and really try and get people to understand why these books were so important at the time and influential at the time, and why I don't think they should be discounted completely in the modern canon, okay? I usually talk about the characters we're going to meet in the book first and then get into the plot, but I think I'm going to do it the other way around today because all the thoughts I have about the characters are retrospective and you need a little bit of context. So I'll just tell you a little bit about Mia's journey in this book first and then we'll dive right in. So Mia Thermopolis, famously, we all know she loves avoiding conflict. She'd literally rather die than have a meaningful conversation with somebody about her feelings. But last book, she actually learned how to covertly get the things she wants through her dad, who, if you remember, let Grandma think she was planning a big wedding for Mia's mum, while he secretly flew mum and her lover out to a different country to have the private wedding of their dreams. So even though Mia doesn't want to take direct action, she's kind of learned a thing or two from dad last book, and we see her applying the things that she's learned this book. It really shows us a progression of the character, and I think that it's in this book that Mia really starts becoming a princess without even realizing, which at this point I think we can all acknowledge is this book's big metaphor just for growing up in general. The book opens up and we find out that we've skipped a month since the last time we heard from Mia, and her and Kenny are officially dating. If you remember, Kenny is Mia's biology partner who revealed himself to be her secret admirer, who was sending her all these secret messages and emails last book. Mia doesn't like Kenny, but she felt pressured to say yes to his first date because he's such a sweet guy and he went to all this effort. And now she's kind of found herself pressured into this relationship because all of her friends got boyfriends at the same time. And now they all go on like quadruple dates together. And she feels like if she broke up with Kenny, not only would everybody think she's a dick because he's such a great guy, but she also would get left out of social situations because she'd be the only one without a boyfriend. She's also having a lot of angst about the fact that her friends are pressuring her to get physical with Kenny in the form of French kissing. Mia obviously doesn't want to get physical with a boy that she's not in love with. Her friends think she's just scared of crossing that physical threshold because they don't have the context of the fact that Mia is actually, of course, secretly in love with Michael Moscovitz, best boy in the universe. I think it is important for Meg Cabot to talk about pressure in teen relationships. I know that we've all experienced in our youth a situation where somebody felt pressured into showing interest in somebody or even dating somebody for a little while. It's something that definitely passes on as you become an adult. You understand that you can't waste somebody's time just due to social pressure, but I think that kids just don't understand this, right? It's nice that maybe somebody could explore those emotions through Mia in this way. Mia never caves to the pressure, French kissing with Kenny, I'm pretty sure, and I think that's really important because it obviously sends a good message. Mia showing a lot of cognitive dissonance. As much as she's been complaining about Kenny and about having this boyfriend, she also complains a lot about the fact that he hasn't asked her to the upcoming dance. Teen girls are full of cognitive dissonance, so I'm down with this narrative choice. What's the point in having a boyfriend if he's not going to take you to the dance, right? Obviously the dance is this big event that the book is going to culminate in and that the whole thing is moving towards. It's kind of a trope in these books that it's all going to end with some big glamorous event. I think that it's lampshaded very well by the fact that Mia is a princess and obviously she's going to have to attend all these big fancy galas and stuff. I think that's what makes it fun in this series, and it's what makes the big events feel exciting rather than, oh, here's another random event that they had to make up in order to make it a big deal for like a normal teenager. Mia and Kenny and all of her friends and their boyfriends go ice skating for a date, and Michael Moscovitz turns up with a fucking girl on his arm, and it's here that we're introduced to Judith Gershner. She's older than Mia, and she's very smart, so she's on Michael's level, and Mia's immediately very jealous of her. She thinks that they're dating. Michael throughout the book denies this, but Mia doesn't believe him in the slightest. Mia's very distracted by the two of them, and they're doing this thing where Michael's helping Judith to skate by skating backwards in front of her. Kenny tries to do this with Mia, and Mia ends up embarrassing herself on the ice by falling over and biting her tongue. And it's this that she uses as an excuse not to tongue kiss Kenny for the rest of the book. It was pretty heartbreaking to be introduced to Judith as a teenager for me because there are moments throughout the last two books where it's hinted that Michael actually also has a crush on Mia. And so, as a young person whose mindset is like, oh, two people belong together and they shouldn't date anybody else, to see Michael walk in with this other woman knowing that he's in love with Mia is very, like, spiritually confusing, okay? Obviously, now as an adult, I know that's not realistic. And also, Mia's got a boyfriend, so why wouldn't Mike go and pursue another girl? Like, he's not just going to wait around. If Mia's too stupid to realize he's got feelings for her, then that's on her, okay? I think that it's seeing Michael with Judith that finally spurs Mia into taking some action about her feelings for Michael, even though it might be too late. And in order to do this, she admits her feelings about him to Tina. The two of them come up with this plan to start sending Michael anonymous love notes that they've typed out with little poems on. It's an idea that she's obviously stolen from Kenny in the last book, but it's also this idea of covert action, again, right, that she's learned from her dad. Instead of just walking up to Michael and talking to him about her feelings, which would be absolutely mortifying, she's going to kind of slowly edge her way into his life via these love notes. So at school, Mia's best friend Lily got a bad mark in her English paper and as a result decided to throw a protest and have all of the students walk out of class at a certain time and go and meet in a certain place. Mia really doesn't want to do this for several reasons, not least because she thinks that it's stupid and that Lily's just doing it out of spite for getting a less than stellar grade from a new teacher. Rather than confront Lily about this and just tell her that she thinks it's a bad idea and just have that conversation with her, at the same time that the protest is meant to go down, Mia excuses herself from class and pulls a fucking fire alarm. So Lily's protest is ruined. It's more covert action, but I feel like this one is not so positive. I feel like we're not supposed to view this as a step in the right direction. Mia really should just have a conversation with her friend or not take part in the protest and just face Lily's wrath. She doesn't need to go about breaking the law. But it's a step on Mia's journey, right? She has to make these mistakes in order to learn how to stand up for herself as a person. And she's just not quite there yet, okay? She has to pull a few fire alarms along the way. Grandma brings in this guy called Sebastian, who I think might be some sort of distant cousin of Mia's. I don't know, royal families are fucking huge, who knows? He's a fashion designer and he designs a bunch of dresses for Mia to try on because she's going to wear one to this dance that she hopes she's going to with Kenny. Sebastiano actually ends up selling the pictures of Mia in his dresses to a magazine with Grandma's permission to kind of further his own brand in America. Mia's really, really upset by this because she didn't give him permission and she thinks it makes her look shallow to have all these fashion images of her in the Sunday Times newspaper or something like that. Him doing this and him being a more likable character before this and being somebody who Mia actually genuinely connected with is kind of a warm-up for her forgiving Grandma for some of her failures as a grandmother later in the series. Because Mia and Grandma still, as much as they've come to kind of understand each other over the last two books, they're not exactly close and they still don't exactly have the ideal relationship. So when Sebastiano does this, he does ask for forgiveness, and it's not technically his fault because Grandma did give him permission. So even though Mia did feel really hurt by this, she does find it in her heart to forgive him, and I feel like that's kind of a step in the right direction for her. Sebastiano also kind of explains to her that he and Grandma thought she looked so pretty in these pictures that how could she possibly not want the world to see them, right? And Mia doesn't really believe that that's the way Grandma sees it, but maybe it is. We don't know. She's a complicated character. We love her. After this whole magazine incident drops, Mia gets really, really stressed and she ends up breaking Lana Weinberger's phone, her bully from school. In these first few books, the only person that Mia feels comfortable standing up to is Lana, even when Lana isn't the direct source of stress in her life. I guess because Mia feels like Lana's the one who deserves it, right? So Lana's phone gets broken because Mia's stressed about this magazine. As much as she should not have reacted like that, it's this big buildup of stress, right? And we all know that we do things that we don't mean when we don't have a healthy outlet for our emotions. And that's what's happening to Mia here. I think that she's so upset about the magazine thing because Mia has this identity issue where she wants to be known for things that she's in control of. She doesn't want to be known for just being royal because that's just about being born into the right family. And she doesn't want to just be known really for being pretty because that's just genetics, right? Mia wants to be known for stuff like saving the planet and being a good person. And so this Times magazine thing has given the entire country the wrong idea of her in her eyes. That's a really important message to send out to young girls. To want to be known for who you are instead of what you look like or who your family is or whatever. To young people in general, to want to be known and to be loved for yourself is really important and intrinsic to all of us, I feel. So it's important that Mia stands up for herself in this moment, which she actually does by calling her very first press conference, a thing that she said she would never ever do in a book previous to this. I guess Mia figures out that some things are worth going public about, and so to atone for the fact that she has become known for being this pretty headed royal via this Times Magazine supplement or whatever it is. She says that all of the proceeds from the dresses will be sent to some charity, I think maybe Greenpeace. It's a girl boss move from Mia, and it's the first time that she's kind of gone public about something and used her power as princess to get a desired outcome. And I think it's the first time that she really sees being a princess as a positive. So all the meanwhile, while this has been going on, Michael has been asking Mia if she's going to the carnival and to the dance. And Mia has been kind of avoiding the question because she doesn't want to see Michael there with his new thing, Judith, right? Also, Mia has been finding yellow roses in her locker every day and she has no idea what that's about. The gang all eat together at a Chinese. Mia ends up somehow sitting next to Boris, Lily's boyfriend, and she actually finds out that Boris is a laugh and he's actually quite a fun person, which is the first time that she's actually given Boris the time of day. And I love that because I love Boris as a character. The last day, Mike comes to see what Mia's algebra grade is because obviously he's kind of been helping to tutor her in algebra on and off throughout the books. And when Mia gets a good grade, she squeals and wraps her arms around him, and Kenny sees. Mia's really afraid that Kenny's worked out her feelings for Michael, but when Kenny comes over, he accuses her of dating Boris, Lily's boyfriend, because he saw them sitting together in the Chinese, and Boris has been leaving yellow roses in Mia's locker. It turns out that Mia forgot that she'd signed up for a Secret Santa, and her Secret Santa was Boris, and that's why he's been leaving these roses, but it gives her a convenient reason to break up with Kenny. This used to stress me out as a kid because I always used to think, what if Kenny says something to Lily, whose boyfriend he apparently thinks you're dating, but nothing ever comes of this, so. I would have liked to have seen Mia break up with Kenny and to stand up for herself in that regard, but I understand that maybe it's a little bit too early on in the series to have her going that far in her confrontation fear. So I'll let it slide. Mia finally goes to see what Mike has been asking her to go and see at the carnival, and it's a specialized program that he's made on his computer that essentially just lets her know that he's also in love with her, and Mia screams and runs off. If for some reason goes and sits on the fire escape and is not going to go to the dance because she's an idiot and she's afraid of her feelings, okay? She doesn't want to have this big confrontation with Mike. She doesn't want to admit her feelings. She thinks maybe it's all this big joke. She thinks maybe he's been getting these love notes from her and laughing about her. He has just not got a lot of self-confidence, okay? And there is a very important scene that's going to happen right now when Mia's sitting on this fire escape because nobody can talk her down except for one person, and that's Grommer. Grommer comes and gets out on the fire escape with Mia, which is something that she wouldn't have ever expected Grommer to do in the first place, so that's a surprise to her that Grommer would go to this effort for Mia. When Mia offers to go to school in Genovia, which is something that Grommer has been pushing for this entire time because she doesn't want Mia to be raised in America, Grommer doesn't let her because Grommer doesn't want Mia to run away for her responsibilities. And that's so important. This is such an important scene for me because I think this scene shows Mia that Grommer is a woman of her word and that she actually does have morals and integrity, and she is the woman that she's trying to teach Mia to become. I think Mia would have expected Grommer to switch her morals on a dime and let Mia come to Genovia and run away from her problems if it meant that Grommer gets what she wanted. But no, Grommer is not going to let her do that because Grommer really does want Mia to succeed and to become a strong woman. And that's so important, and I love that for them, and this is a step in the right direction for them and their relationship, okay? And it is Grommer that eventually talks her off the fire escape, and Mia decides to go to the dance. Also, Grommer calls her Mia for the first time, whereas before this, she's always called her Amelia, which Mia hates. So obviously, when Mia gets to the dance, her and Michael end up together, and it turns out that Lily and Tina knew about this and were cooperating the whole time to try and get them together, which was kind of obvious to us as an audience. And it's all happily ever after, which is fucking great. And it only took us 3 books for the main romantic couple to get together, so I wonder where the fuck we could go from here. All right, let's talk some characters. Kenny. When I was younger, I saw Kenny as the plot device that he was, okay? A blockade to Mia and Michael's relationship to put it off for another book, okay? No shade, no shade. It's a good literary device. But I feel like I had a lot less empathy for Kenny when I was younger, and now reading back on it, I just feel really sorry for him. He obviously really liked Mia, and in the rest of the series, it's clear that he holds a real candle for Mia, and he just really meant nothing to her at all, and she only kind of dated him out of pity, and I feel like that's really sad. He actually phones her up and tells her that he loves her, and Mia doesn't answer him, so Kenny was clearly having his whole first real relationship and feeling all these feelings, and Mia just did not feel the same way at all, which maybe some of you find relatable, I don't know. I want to talk about Lily, okay, because Lily's one of my favourite characters in this series to really dive into and have a discussion about, because I feel like she's complicated. She's like Grommer in a way. You never really know what her real motivations are. In this one, I've got to be in my bonnet about whether or not she actually likes Kenny, Mia's boyfriend. She actually doesn't believe Mia when she tells her about the phone call. She's like, maybe you misheard him, and Mia's like, what the fuck else would he have said? She actually has a go at Mia multiple times about treating Kenny badly, despite the fact that she treats her boyfriend Boris like shit. At this point in the book, I feel like she's got complacent in their relationship. She's always talking about how Boris is breathing on her and like, can you get away from me? She's not really about the physical contact and stuff anymore. It really seems like she's gotten bored of him at this point. It's interesting because Lily is actually the one who pursued Boris. She was the one who had a crush on him at first, but now he's like hopelessly devoted to her and wouldn't possibly look at anybody else. And I think he thinks they're going to be together forever, whereas she's really disinterested and cold towards him. She's really focused in on her projects and stuff like that. And she had that whole thing with Mia's cousin in the last book where she possibly cheated on him. So it's like, it's all dodgy behavior from Lily in the Boris department. I think that when I was younger, because she and Boris are so established and because the two of them are so geeky and kind of like, they feel like destined in that way to the young mind because they're so similar, right? Plus, it's this trope in young adult books that the main character has this friend who has a long-term boyfriend and they kind of want that for themselves. So I think I fully expected Lily and Boris to just stay together forever throughout the entirety of the series. Kind of like that Cabot eventually went on to break that trope, but we will talk about that when it happens. Opposing Lily is Tina. She's the emotional support to Lily's tough love. And I do like the fact that Meg Cabot didn't have Mia just drop Lily because Tina's like objectively a better friend. It's important that you have different types of friends in your life. And just because somebody occasionally can be a dick, it doesn't mean that you have to drop them completely, okay? If they're capable of being sorry and of growing and changing, which Lily over the course of the series, I think, will prove that she can, even if she's not doing it at the minute. I think it's funny that Mia goes to Tina for kissing lessons just because Tina likes romance novels and makeup. It makes Mia feel like she's more of an authority on being a girl than Mia is, even though they're in the same boat and they're the same age, and Tina has kind of just as much experience as Mia does, really. I think Cabot's really good at writing teens and teen logic. It really resonates with me. Okay, I'm going to talk about Dad and Grandma, and then we are finished, okay? I think this is a really important book for both of them, okay? We get Dad's overarching storyline kind of really starting up in this book in when Mia asks him for advice about what she should do about Michael, this person who she has feelings for, but she doesn't know how to tell him. He says, don't make the same mistake that I made. He says that he once had a person that he could have made a commitment to and he chose not to do it and he's regretted it ever since. I think that from the beginning, we as readers know that this is about Mia's mum, but it takes Mia a couple of books to really realise it and for that to sink in, simply because I think that she knows her mum and her dad as these two really disparate people who would never get along and who really just don't belong together. And so it can't possibly be her mum, right? I like the way that Cabot puts these realizations into the narrative, okay? There's like an even distribution of things that we as an audience realize before Mia and we get to see her reaction to it, and things that we realize along with her that were total surprises to us as well. Finally, Grandma. I think this is a really important book for Grandma, okay? Her and Mia have really come a long way since the first book. Mia finds herself listening to Grandma's dating advice, despite this being something that she would have said she would have never done at the beginning of the series. Like, Grandma gives her the advice of not breaking up with Kenny before the finals so he doesn't fuck up his entire future, which Mia kind of uses as an excuse because she's scared of breaking up with Kenny anyway, but it is good advice, I would say. I think Grandma also has a hand in the love notes. I think she's the one who puts it into Mia's head because she says that it worked for Kenny, so why wouldn't it work for her? And this advice does kind of work for Mia, so subconsciously she's going to be on Grandma's side a bit more in the future, right? Grandma also has that really pivotal scene at the end where her and Mia really do see eye to eye for the first time and really connect for the first time and really, I think, have respect for each other for the first time, and I fucking love that. Also, I can't let this go without mentioning the fact that this is the first book where Grandma reveals the pivotal information to Mia that her nostrils flare when she lies, and this information haunts Mia for the rest of the series. She's constantly panicking in case anybody else finds out this secret and uses it against her, because Mia do be lying. In conclusion, I really enjoy this one. I like it a lot more than the last one. I think it relies a lot more on like character-driven stuff as opposed to mystery, which is obviously good for second and third and fourth and maybe 10th time reading at this point. Obviously, as a teenager, I was here to see Mia and Michael get together, and that happened at the end of this one, so this is going to hold a special place in my heart for that. And yeah, that's kind of it. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.